America. Yes. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. And you know what? Sports Reports is Ordered is here even when Kawhi is not. Even when Draymond is not.
The claw.
Mr. Logical. 2-5. What's up, y'all? We here tonight.
Whiskey.
Oh, man. He feeling nice. Bad news for your boy. You know I'm on these thyroid meds. Can't drink no more. So, drink it up for me. But tonight, we are going to talk about one Draymond Green. Should he have been suspended? Did the league get it right? As you remember, we both thought that he shouldn't have been suspended. And, of course, I had a caveat. We'll get into that. Then, Oakland is on the move. Don't tell me Vegas is taking another team from Oakland. Man, if that ain't on-site beef, I don't know what is. And then it's trade day. Apparently, the 49ers are getting some calls about Trey Lance. And I don't understand why. Minnesota? Kirk Cousins? What are they doing? Hey, maybe they know something we don't know. And then
Tyson said everybody got a plan till they get hit in the mouth.
Yes. And then we're going to get into some draft day projections. We're going to give you a little bit of our first round analysis. Your boy just did his first mock draft. I don't even know how I feel about it, but I'm here now. I'm here. The Sports is Ordered is here. And then, of course, we're going to finish it off with Get It Off My Chest. So, Mr. Logical, what's the word?
Yo, I try to speak logically, think logically. I don't understand what's going on with the suspension of Draymond. I don't get why they took it that far. I figured missing the last 7 minutes of the game was enough. But hey, I mean, everybody got their ideas and they get paid to do it, and we get paid to talk about it.
Because Draymond decided to bomb atomically. That's why.
Inspector Deck style.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, look. So, I didn't think he should have been suspended because I thought getting ejected was enough. Now, if he didn't get ejected, I might have wanted him to get suspended. I put it like that. Like if he wouldn't have got ejected, I might have understood the suspension more. But since he got ejected, I didn't think the suspension was necessary. What you think?
Yeah, because if you think about it, the game was, I believe, a 4-point game.
Mm-hmm. About 7 minutes left.
7 minutes left. Golden State's going up the court with the ball. Sabonis is on the floor. Draymond's a great passer, so he would have been a trailer on a fast break with the biggest defender for Sacramento on the floor, and a team that doesn't play that much defense. They were ranked like 26 in team defense.
Yeah, and he flopped, by the way.
I mean, yeah, they all flop. I mean, we were watching the Brooklyn game when we seen a couple of situations. So you figure that he gets up court, they get the ball to Draymond, top of the key, little drop pass, hip check screen, Clay pops a 3, Steph pops a 3, now they're down 1. So I think it's pivotal that he grabbing his Sabonis grabbing his leg really held up that whole process. So him reacting to, because you see what's up, as a defender on the floor, Dre's like, yo, we about to get busy if I get up court. This dude's holding on to me. I didn't think it was a stomp. I thought it was more of a tap because Draymond's like 6'7", 220, 225. He couldn't crush a soda can with the force that he put on Sabonis in that play. But I mean, it did cost him at least the rest of that playing time. You never know, the game could have gone either way. Clay hit 2 threes. After that, is just eventually Sacramento with the energy just pulled away. I didn't think suspension was warranted because I think the only reason you suspend Draymond, I think the thing that did get him suspended actually was he goes back to the bench if he just chills, goes back to the bench, and he stands in his huddle and he's doing the clap, hyping people up, but he spent, we'll call it 30, 45 seconds allowing this back and forth with the fans. Fans are flicking them off. They're screaming. It's probably a lot of FU, blah, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Adam Silver's in the building. You know what I'm saying? I talked about it as like being in the auditorium and the principal's in there, and you wonder why you're getting everybody riled up, why you're getting in more trouble. Because he did that. I think he goes to the bench. If he goes to the bench, sits there, and everyone's screaming at him and yelling at him and saying whatever, then I think they put the onus on Sacramento not controlling their fans. I'll see it in a few seconds.
I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna bring it up once it happens. You just throw a finger up when you see it. But go ahead.
So, and I think that shouldn't have been the thing that got him suspended. And then the press conference didn't help by him basically saying, "Yo, I mean, it is, I was being held.
Yeah. So, like for me, I think it was one of those things where he just used
Did he get a taunting call?
Yes. Yes, and I think that was an ejection because that was his second tech too. This is live, y'all. We watching Brooklyn and Philly. And Nick Claxton got the bucket over Embiid. It wasn't quite a dunk, but he got it over Embiid. He kind of flexed on him a little bit, you know what I'm saying, which I've been seeing LeBron probably do like 60,000 times. And they called the tech on Claxton, and I think he got ejected.
Caitlin Clark did more than that.
I think that was his second technical foul. But but back to Draymond, so this is the thing, right? What I thought was hilarious.
No, hold on now. We are talking about people get suspended and kicked out of games in pivotal moments of games, and it happens again. The NBA, listen, I don't know what are you trying to convey?
To be fair,
they're out there fighting all the time.
To be fair,
taunting calls because the same thing in the NFL. This might be my get off my chest, but it's like, what do you expect? This is game 3. They're down 2-0. They're at home. He's having the game of his NBA playoff career against a guy that could be MVP.
I swear, Embiid ended up on the floor more than a Juicy in Korea. But look, this is the thing, right? So when the game first started, about 2 minutes into the game, there was a play where Nick Claxton dunked the ball, tried to walk over Embiid. Embiid kicked at him, almost kicked him in the family jewels and all that. And I think that was a double tech situation. So that's what led to the ejection. That was the second technical. But, I think since it was the same two dudes involved, maybe the refs thought they were trying to get control of the game by calling this tech.
You don't get control of the game by potentially controlling the outcome.
I know.
You know what you're doing. You don't give the tech there. You go to the coach.
Well, as it is, Brooklyn is up by 5, 87-82, with 7:42 left
for game 4.
And yes, so I was going to bring that up, but before I bring that up, I want to say my thing real quick. So it was hilarious to me that when the NBA had Joe Dumars, who I love, by the way, but they had Joe Dumars on TV during the press run talking about Draymond being a repeat offender. And I just thought it was ironic since he played on the Bad Boy Pistons with Rick Mahorn and Bill Laimbeer beating people up and getting beat up. So I just thought that was kind of funny and ironic. But, so this is my problem. So this is my caveat that I brought up in the intro. So the only reason I don't have a problem with Draymond getting suspended, so I don't think he should have got suspended, but the only reason that I don't have a problem with it is for the fact that superstar calls exist. Because I feel that if Draymond had done that same action, but let's say that was Dame Lillard on the floor, or let's say that was LeBron on the floor, let's say that was Ja Morant on the floor. I don't know, maybe not Ja Morant. They don't really support him nowadays. But, but if that was somebody of that ilk on the floor that Draymond does that same thing to, I think that he would have got suspended just because of who he did it to. I think the media that is supporting Draymond wouldn't have supported him because of the star or superstar that he would have done this to. So if your thought is,
I don't know about that though.
That's how I feel. That's just how I feel.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. That's just how I feel. But I'm just saying, like, for right now, right? Like, we're watching the game right now, right? If James Harden goes up for a bucket and gets clotheslined, I think there's a different reaction than if it was Joe Harris. Like, the call might be the same, but I think the reaction, the media, people just treat it differently because
it
James
might not
Harden's
get
a
an
star.
18-minute segment on Undisputed tomorrow morning.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So if your thought is Draymond stomped the dude, he should be suspended, I can roll with that. But don't change whether he should have been suspended or not based off of who he committed the action against. Because like I told you, all balls matter. So when he was taking out Steven Adams' nuts, there was no suspension. I mean,
one time
he kicked him
and
twice.
Steven Adams is a lighthouse of a man. I think he could have handled that.
He kicked him once for each nut. But you know what I'm saying? But with LeBron, obviously it was a little different because he had the points situation that got him suspended. So in this situation now with Domantas Sabonis, he gets these points for the playoffs now. So his next flagrant foul is going to come with a suspension again. So that's where I feel like maybe
for Draymond?
For Draymond, yeah.
The next flagrant 2.
The next flagrant 2.
Kicked out of that game.
We'll get him kicked out of that game and a suspension. So that's where I feel,
because they losing at 4. Okay, keep going.
Well, we'll see.
That should be a foul.
We'll see. But that's my overall point is don't treat the situation differently because of who the offender was. Don't treat the situation differently based on who the victim was. Because at the end of the day, Sabonis grabbed his foot. I'm not saying that Sabonis should be suspended, but the stomp never happens if he doesn't grab Draymond's foot.
And that's why I thought the ejection was enough. I think Steve Kerr came out and said it. Bob Myers came out and said it. I don't think I've heard from Draymond post suspension yet. I think they probably told him, like, listen.
But I don't want to hear from the Warriors.
I
don't want to hear from the Warriors. Y'all been enabling this dude for more than 10 years now. Yeah. Shut up. This is what Draymond brings to the game. This is what he invites.
And that's shut up.
And when he gets away with it, like I mentioned earlier, how he poked James Harden in the eye, he poked LeBron in the eye, he punched, or not punched, but he hit Jaylen Brown in the face. And he got away with all that. Yep. We talked about the 5th foul that he should have been called for the other day that he didn't get called for. Reputation style. So you know what? You take it. You enabled him.
Draymond,
you didn't suspend him when he punched his own teammate. Shut up.
They didn't want him to miss ring night because they don't have
move ring night. Move ring night to 2 nights later.
Ring night is the opening night. Home.
It don't have to be. I'm the champion. The ring night happened when I say the ring night happened.
And that's why they said we're the 4-time champion. We're not suspending anybody because what are you gonna say? You got us on TV because we win rings. You got us on TV because we selling Steph Curry shoes in China at full price, even though it's where they get made for 75 cents on the dollar.
But this is what makes me mad.
That's what they all said. But I mean, I get it. They all supported him. Bob Myers came out and said Draymond is Draymond. Steve Kerr said sometimes his emotions spill over. I get it. I look at Draymond like, all right, at some point, I understand you have support. But it's like someone who struggles to keep a job. Yes, you have the support of whatever financial backing of a spouse or a friend or a family member or trust fund or whatever the case may be. But at some point, even with that backing, I need you as a person intrinsically to make the decisions to keep yourself out of situations where you can't keep a job. I understand you get the support. I'm a person. I'm going to support you. I got you. Like I tell my kids, I'll support you. But I need you to also be understanding that you got to support yourself too. I got you, but you got to have you more than I got you.
Right. Just because you got a dick don't mean you got to be a dick.
Exactly. With Draymond, I think he kind of knows the team has him even when he's out of bounds. They're going to rock with him because they got 6 NBA Finals appearances, 4 rings, 73 wins in the season. They sell out 41 home games. They probably sell out every road game they're on. So since 2015, they've probably not had an empty seat in any building that they play the game, and they can charge whatever price and get whatever that cut is. So I think that's worth a Sabonis chest stomp in their opinion. I think that's worth a couple of Steven Adams in their opinion. And they did own it by saying, hey, They say it differently. That's the thing.
No, but they
Draymond went
whining
to the
though.
press conference and said it like Draymond went to the press conference like he was doing an interview on the shop.
Right.
He should have went to the press conference with a little bit more of a thugged out script, but not the thugged out uncut version of his answer. He could have said, listen, I get it. My frustration boiled over because I feel like I'm being targeted by these other players. You can see it for yourself because what you do, you put the onus on the listener. You can see it for yourself. I got grabbed the first game, and then they got held right in front of the referee. Didn't have to mention the referee by name. Like, listen, I got grabbed in the first game. I got grabbed in the second game. Yes, I understand that my frustrations I have to be able to put in check, but in the same sense, is like at a certain point, I couldn't hold back. I hurt my team. It's almost essentially a must-win game 2 situation for us. Yes, I feel very confident in my team going home game 3, but in that moment, 7 minutes left in the game, I got to keep a level head. I hope Sabonis is okay. I get it. It's playoff basketball. It's going to be more physical, but I got to be smarter. He mentions, like in that script that I just spit off the top of my head, Chat GPT style, I got his point across that he was originally trying to make. And then I put that nugget out there for people who are listening because people are still defending him when he got suspended. But I think in the eyes of the NBA, the repping up the fans and going back and forth with the fans during the review of what you just did. You knew what you just did. You knew they were reviewing it for a flagrant 2. But instead of just chilling, I'm not saying you got to dim your light to let other people shine, but in the same sense, like, listen, you already put a big enough target on your back. Like, you got to be smarter. They're going to support you, but it's only so long they're going to be able to support you. Like I said, if y'all go out in 4 or 5 games, say they win 1 game at the Chase Center, and then they go back to Sacramento down 3-1.
Right.
And Sacramento wins, lights that beam. Winning cures a lot of stuff. Losing highlights a lot of your flaws. Yeah. And in that regard, they'll look at the contract they gave Jordan Poole. They'll look at the contract. Steph wants another max, 5 years, 270. He wants another max contract. Like, you can't pay him.
This man is out here limping, man.
Yeah. So
when Draymond hit them dudes with the Hulk Hogan, I am a real American, you know what I'm saying? He hit him with the joint, you know what I'm saying? He started calling it.
I'm good with that if you hit a 3 in the first half. I don't think it's wise to do that when they're reviewing a flagrant 2 with the commissioner in the building.
Then he started calling them derogatory terms for female genitalia and felines and all that kind of stuff too. And and the thing about it though is where I lose, like I get it, right? He's a character. He plays it up. He hams it up, yucks it up. As Macho Man Randy Savage would say, Hulk Hogan, you're a hot dog. Like all that good stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like you can't act like you didn't get away with beating the hell out of Sabonis in game 1. Y'all were beating the hell out of him the whole first half, of this game that you got the flagrant in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not as if it was a one-sided thing where the Kings were getting these calls and you weren't. So, like, I talked about this the other night. The second quarter, the Warriors were just flopping around like all day long. Clay and Steph, looked like Uncle Phil throwing Jazz out the house. You know what I mean? And they falling on the floor. They getting all the calls. It was a close game. Halftime comes. Third quarter starts. The Warriors had 5 team fouls in less than a minute and a half of the quarter. Fourth quarter starts. Kings are up 13, and the Kings get 3 fouls in the first minute of the fourth quarter. So it's not as if this was a vendetta against the Warriors. But I think the media and the way people are reacting to this goes back to what I always tell you. I'm not saying that it's rigged, but people definitely want the Warriors in the next round. I
don't think people care if the Warriors in the next round or not.
Oh, I think they do.
I just
Warriors against LeBron again. Warriors against the Grizzlies. Yes, they do.
You would want Warriors, Lakers if you're playing 2K, and you want that. I get that matchup, but I think the way people are reacting to the suspension is because he got kicked out of game 2, and they lost. So as the NBA, you're looking at it, you're like, you know what? We gave the other guy a technical, and I think they were reviewing Sabonis for a flagrant one for holding on, but they just gave him a technical for that. I don't know what like the grounds they used. I think it was like an unnatural basketball play or unnatural basketball move or some kind of vernacular they
Unnecessary,
used.
yeah.
Unnecessary contact, not a basketball move.
Right.
Which if Draymond was running and he grabbed him, would have been a flagrant one. But the fact that
Right.
he held on to him while he was standing still, like he was trying to go, they made it. So they use that. They use discretion in assessing the technical to Sabonis and then the flagrant two to Draymond. So I look at that whole situation as like if my son's gotten a fight in the kitchen, all right, one gets hit in the face, the other one gets sent upstairs. So the one that got punched in the face, all right, that's your punishment. You got punched in the face. The other one, you lose your phone for the rest of the weekend. Cool. Monday comes around, we're good to go. Like
Right.
you got your punishment for being involved because you got hit in the face. That's what you get for messing with your brother. You hit him in the face. You lost your phone through the weekend. We're good to go. I'm not gonna be like, all right, now I gotta assess an even higher level penalty, and then this, other one that started the fight is good to go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like you gave them the penalties. You got the flake. You got the technical on Sabonis, and I don't know how they accumulate in the playoffs. And then you put Draymond at the game, and his team lost. It's like, so you obviously know how much of an impact he is to the team. Yes,
Mhm.
he has to be better when making decisions, and that's why I said I had to get it off my chest part. But that's my thing is like, stop putting yourself in the crosshairs. Unfortunately, they shot him down on this go round. I don't think it's wise. Like I don't think it's fair. I think it sets it up to where people are now looking like, well, maybe the NBA wants this new up and coming team from Northern California
Well,
to be the
see,
next
well,
thing.
see, real
Even though
quick,
that might not have anything to do with it. It's just that you're setting a different kind of narrative that has nothing to do with the actual
right,
gameplay.
right,
You're
and that's
setting it up to where people could think like, oh, if you don't suspend them, you want the Warriors in the next round. But since you did suspend them, you must want the Kings. Versus like, yo, they could have came out and said, listen, he missed the bulk of the fourth quarter. His team lost the game. We assessed a fine of $75,000, and then we fined the team $125,000 for allowing this action to continue. And now the team is like, yo, you cost us 125 grand on top of the fact you got to pay 75.
But see, and that's what I'm saying. But like, so now bringing it back full circle to the beginning of our conversation. So what do you do with Embiid now? Because he didn't get
Oh, he getting
ejected.
suspended.
He didn't get ejected.
He's getting
And
suspended for game 4. They're gonna review it. He's gonna get suspended because they just suspended Draymond and try to
but what if
make
he
a note.
doesn't? But what if he doesn't?
Someone's gonna mention it. Someone from the Warriors organization will mention it publicly, or they will make a call. Either somebody from the Warriors organization
Well,
will say it
what's
publicly.
funny? What's funny
A
is
Warriors
earlier.
writer will say it. Somebody's gonna say it publicly before tomorrow. Before you and I have our afternoon text conversation, it's gonna be an anonymous exec questions why Embiid wasn't kicked out of game
Well,
3 in
what's
Brooklyn.
funny is they had the sideline interview with Glenn Rivers earlier, and they had asked him like, what are you telling Embiid in that certain scenario, like XYZ, blah blah blah, and he said something along the lines of like, he just got to relax and know better, because people get suspended nowadays.
Yeah,
Like he threw that out
I
there. You
heard
know
it.
what I
I
mean?
heard that was like that's an old school move.
Yeah, so here we go, y'all. 96-96 with about a minute 25 left. We're coming down the stretch. Brooklyn has the ball. Mikal at the top of the key, driving against Embiid. The pull up, misses it, and PJ Tucker with the rebound. So Philly has the ball now. So we're coming up on the last minute of a tied game here. Mikal Bridges is now 9 of 27.
33%.
Embiid is 5 of 12 with 14 points as of this moment.
17 for 27. You look like a hero.
Yeah, Embiid takes the jumper, misses badly. Rebound, there's a foul, looks like. Yep.
Figures.
Yeah, there's
Under
a
a minute,
foul.
gotta call a foul.
Yeah, well, no, it actually was a foul.
I don't care. You let
Finney
it play
Smith
out.
fell on the Anthony Melton falling out of bounds. But yeah, so I'm interested to see that now because of Embiid doesn't get suspended now.
He should.
But hold on, this is my question though. If he doesn't get suspended, is that even a conversation that we hear on some of these shows tomorrow?
Absolutely, because he's the MVP candidate. And
mean,
Draymond just got suspended. And like you said, you talked about in our pre-meeting. He's like, yeah, at least 95% of the people I heard talking on TV were like, I didn't think everyone was saying he shouldn't have been suspended.
Yeah, there's usually a split.
Even Nick Wright was like, before the suspension, he was like, I don't think he should be suspended, but I would understand because he broke down. He was like, this person stomped on another player's chest in the middle of the game. So he's like, I can see where they would suspend him. He was like, I don't think he should be suspended. So even people who can kind of wrap their head around the idea that potentially there was a suspension was still like, nah, I wouldn't do it. So now that he got suspended, when I saw it, I was like, I didn't agree with it.
Well, that's where I think the ejection comes in. I think the ejection comes in there. If he didn't get ejected, if he didn't get ejected, then maybe I think the suspension is a given, maybe. But since he got ejected, I figured the suspension should be off the table because now it's a double jeopardy type situation. You already ejected him.
You already
gave him the flagrant two.
You cost him a game.
Yeah. Now you're just doing insult to injury at this point. But at the same time,
you gave him
it just
a reputation suspension when it wasn't warranted because you saw what transpired to get him there. If he blocked Sabonis' shot and then while he was on the ground out of bounds or whatever, then went over and stomped on him, then that's another thing. But you saw that
Maxey with the three.
Up. Sabonis had him grabbed up, and it was like, let's see, it's been some chaos with my son's lacrosse team.
All right, Dinwiddie draws the foul. So 99-96 with 37.7. PJ Tucker is acting like a petulant child because they called a foul against him guarding Spencer Dinwiddie. This is one of those moments where it's probably a tech if it's a different point in the game, but since there's like 37 seconds left, we're going to let it ride.
All right, what we got?
It wasn't a foul. It shouldn't have been a foul, but,
That should have been a technical, though. That reaction is a technical. Like I said, I'm behind you, so that reaction is a technical.
That's what I'm saying. They're reviewing
it, though. Tatum got a technical for saying, damn, when he messed up his own play, he got a technical. And he got a technical when he bounced the ball hard.
Yeah.
JJ Redick got one for a bounce pass.
So you're part of the world. So you're part of the world. Secaucus is about to make a major decision here towards the end of this game.
Who was that?
Secaucus, New Jersey. The NBA office, the review offices or whatever. They're looking at it right now. So we're on commercial. But yeah, I think that so just to put the bow on it. Golden State win tonight or they going down 3-0?
Oh, they're going down 3-0.
Easy just like that?
Yeah, they have Looney. In order for Looney to be effective, he needs Draymond out there to be a defensive piece from like the free throw line to the hoop. So when he slides over to help, all he's doing is trying to contest the shot. De'Aaron Fox is going to drive the ball because Mike Brown's going to tell him, like, listen, drive the ball into Looney's chest, get him 2 quick fouls, and they got to go to the bench.
Right.
Who are they bringing in that's over 6'8"? That we've seen.
PJ Tucker's still running around.
I'm not back. I'm still on commercial.
Yeah, he's still running around.
So it's like, who does Golden State bring in that's 6'7" or 8" that plays defense?
Hey, they still got. Hey, I've been giving shout outs ever since our show the other day. Shout out Jonathan Kuminga. What I'm saying?
He's a wing defender.
I know.
He can't do anything for you 15 feet in.
So this has got to be one of those games, right? We talk about, I don't talk about it. Y'all talk about it. Most of y'all LeBron fans in the media. Everybody always talks about legacy. Saying everybody talks about legacy. This is where I need Steph Curry from Game 4 in Boston to show up tonight.
He had Draymond.
I'm not saying that I'm going to kill them if they lose. I'm not saying I'm going to kill them if they play bad. I'm just saying for legacy purposes, this might be the game where Steph needs to go game 4 in Boston. And Dinwiddie, of course, hits the first free throw, misses the second free throw. We got 35 seconds left. Maxey bringing the ball up the court, dribbling down some clock, about 12 left on the shot clock. Here we go. Maxey. All right, we got some switching going on. Maxey against Dinwiddie. Pull up. Short. Brooklyn with the rebound. Here we go. 14 seconds left. Dinwiddie coming down
now. Not still saying that.
Oh, Embiid with. Oh, my bad.
So now I want to see it live.
All right. I'm gonna let you do your thing. And while we do that, we switching topics real quick. So, Oakland's new land. And I'm gonna tell you right now. I feel so bad for the city of Oakland, because they done lost the Warriors. Granted, they just right down the bay or whatever, but they lost the Warriors. Vegas came through in 2020 and said, while you're suffering from COVID, we're going to take this football team off your hands. And then before you could blink, just like that, the Major League Baseball commissioner comes out today and says that he feels that this Oakland to Vegas thing is going to happen. So, and then, of course, that prompted me to learn that
that's a goaltend.
I know.
Did they call it?
Nope. Oh, my bad. I wasn't supposed to say that. See, you can't be asking
I'm watching it.
You can't be asking me questions. You can't be asking.
They didn't call that?
So, as I was saying,
I watch when we watch games live. My bad, I'd be to cut you off. I just saw the replay.
Yeah. So as I was saying, and I just learned today because it prompted me to learn that the Las Vegas Strip is not actually in Las Vegas. It's in Paradise / Winchester. So, that was just some gee whiz.
That's just Vegas.
That was some gee whiz. But it's just south of Vegas. Just south of Vegas.
That's Vegas, baby. It's all Vegas. Once you get there, you see those lights. Trust me. When you go to Nevada, you only flying into Vegas. And I tell people when they tell me stuff like, yeah, I went to Vegas when I was like 12 or 13 with my family. Nah, you went to Las Vegas. You went to the city for people 0 to 20. Vegas with the extra S with the dollar sign. That's a different city. Oakland had no chance of keeping the A's when the Raiders decided to leave and go to Southern Nevada. They had no shot. They probably made it difficult to even have a deal. They probably had all kinds of demands. Like, listen, we want a waterfall that comes out of the stadium into the waterfront property right into restaurants. Like, we can't build that. Well, that's what we want.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. It's funny
we want a helicopter pad. We want this.
It's funny that you bring that up because there was actually a lawsuit against the A's because they were going to try to build this new stadium. And, they're in California. So people felt that it wasn't environmentally safe enough. So they took the A's to court, or they were going to take the A's to court to try to resolve this. But of course, Oakland could have built a new stadium years ago because the stadium that they play in now that they were sharing with the Raiders at one point is basically a Vietnam era stadium that never got updated.
Listen, it's like, your marriage is over, but you agree to the counseling anyway.
Yeah.
Just be like, you know what? I'll get off work on a Tuesday to handle
this. Done that.
But I'm
my Lord, have mercy.
Hold on, don't say nothing. I'm leaving. They're like, I'm leaving. Doesn't matter what. So once they built Allegiant Stadium, and a lot of people haven't been to Vegas, it's super tight and packed. All right. So Mike seems to be focused on the TV, and I'm like 20 seconds behind.
No, I'm listening to you. I'm just watching the replay.
Because now I'm watching it.
Tragic Johnson, baby.
I'm so disappointed.
And that's why you're the Brooklyn Nets.
And this is why you don't trade KD or Kyrie. But either way, good thing that there's another games on TV. But with Vegas, because that was my thing. Because I go to Vegas a lot. I went out there, I'm out there all the time. Any chance I get, anytime I'm thinking about what I want to do in a couple of months for vacation, I check the Vegas numbers. I look at cruises and everything else, but when it boils down to it, I'm taking that nonstop flight from Newark to Vegas, and I'm going to Vegas. So when I first heard about the Raider Stadium being built, Legion Stadium, it's like $1.5 billion, 1.57, something like that, something crazy high. I was like, I wonder where they're gonna put it. Well, if you look at the strip, it runs north and south. The Mandalay Bay is on one side of I-15. I-215 is the interstate that comes through. So you got the Mandalay Bay on one side, then you got the interstate that runs between it. It's like 4 or 5 lanes each way. The Raider Stadium is right across that. So it's right on the end of the strip. So it's not another city. So if you are on vacation to Vegas and you're staying at the MGM Grand, you're staying at Bellagio, whatever hotel you're staying at, you want to go, you can see the stadium if your window is the backside of that hotel. You can
Right.
see it. It's like it's right there. It's not like you got to see it. It's like far off in the distance. It's like literally you get an Uber there. It's going to be a reasonable number because it's right down the street.
Right.
They're building the baseball stadium projected a little closer to more hotels across from the T-Mobile Arena. And the T-Mobile Arena is the big intersection you see. If you see any kind of Vegas movie, the intersection where Pac got shot is MGM Grand, Tropicana, Excalibur, New York, New York. Right there, just north of that intersection is a T-Mobile Arena. They're planning on building the baseball stadium right there. So once again, you're right there on the strip. You basically, as a team, once you put your stadium there, you become a part of the skyline and the ambiance of the strip. So even if you're not into baseball, it's the highlight of the travel vacation, year for Vegas between Memorial Day and just after Labor Day. So they get the whole summer. So you got baseball for the whole summer. People are rolling into their trips, games, 162 games. You're there for 81 of them. And you already have the fan base because you have the Oakland Raiders fan base. A lot of them probably by proxy Oakland A's baseball fans if they're baseball fans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might even open up an opportunity because I was looking on the map yesterday at work and I was like, there's no interstate that goes directly from Northern California into Nevada and then south to Vegas. But there's nothing there. So you could probably expand whatever. There's probably like some state routes. You might be able to expand that because if you're moving that many teams to that area, that's going to be a demand on getting there. Because right now you got to take the interstate down through California, and then you get to like the Fresno area. Then you can go east from there, which adds some time. But if you could just go east and they come straight south, oh yeah, that drive is probably like from Utah. It was like 5 hours, but
Yeah.
we took the interstate straight from where we stayed at, straight
Right.
from the base all the way down to Vegas. If you literally don't get off I-15, you're driving right to that same intersection, right where the baseball stadium is going to be. So I think it's a good move. They're still in the AL West. They don't have to change anything. They have to change the time zones. Like I said, their fans are out there. You have the Oakland football team, so you already have that buzz. You got the Las Vegas Knights. You have gambling and whatever the gambling, everyone's worried about
You got
gambling initially.
boxing.
You got boxing coming there. So maybe you do a boxing match at your baseball stadium and you sell out 100,000 seats. Mayweather fighting on, second base.
Yeah, they did it in Creed.
I'm telling you, like
From Dodger
it's just
Stadium.
it's so many levels to why Vegas makes more sense than any other place. If they were going to leave Oakland, Vegas is a natural place for it. And I can see the NBA trying to get a team there by just doing something. Like I came up with a little thing here. If it happens, I want credit for it. NBA. You get another team in Seattle, expansion team in Seattle, expansion team in Vegas, and you put Memphis and New Orleans in the Eastern Conference. So now you got your numbers are the same. You just move those guys over. They're close enough already. You got these young stars you want to highlight. Well, you need to get them playing more East Coast teams. versus
Mhm.
having a team in Tennessee playing games in California and saying they're in the same conference. It's like,
It's always been weird to me. Side note, since you brought that up, it's always been weird to me, that Milwaukee and Chicago are in the East, but then Minnesota's in the West. Like, I know how to read a map, but anyway. So yes, you're right that Las Vegas makes the most sense, but I still don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like Oakland, my heart goes out to you. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know if y'all don't got the money. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if like Christian Gray came through with the whips and chains and he was a billionaire and came and stole your girl or what. But I just Oakland, man, my heart goes out to you, but it is your fault. You had the opportunity to build stadiums for years upon years upon years because you're playing in a fossil right now. The Warriors, it made sense to move to San Francisco, just because of what you're talking about, like the business, just the landscape in general. So San Francisco made more sense, business wise, tech wise, whatever it might be. Like it just made a lot of sense, but I just don't understand it because I know the Raiders left originally, when we were like super small, we were little kids. And then they
yeah,
came back, because like the LA Coliseum was just a huge stadium that they weren't filling. So, I know Al Davis had mentioned that having a smaller stadium would bring a better home field advantage, which makes sense in theory. And he wanted some luxury suites. But of course, what happened? Oakland didn't want to give it to him, Oakland being cheap. So I get why these teams want to leave Oakland. Like Vegas, I saw something funny on Twitter today that, made me think. It was like, yo, why are these teams trying to move to this city that's about to run out of water? You know
they better do something. They'll figure out
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
You
they'll
get
figure
enough
out something.
billionaires there, they'll figure out something.
They'll figure out something. But for the
But
time being,
the first time I ever heard about blackout games,
uh-huh.
it was referencing Raiders games because they didn't have enough people in the audience.
Right.
And it was like, we're not going to play the games locally if you guys don't show up. So
Right.
pay for the tickets, come fill the stadium. So they rated, and then they were playing with they had the baseball diamond. It just like it looked
It was
nostalgic,
it was disgusting.
but it's like everybody would talk about. I think Travis Kelsey talked about falling on that dirt. He was like, "Man, it was so hard." And it just would cut you. It just was. It's like it was a terrible field. It just was not a good look
And,
for
and
a
it
$1 billion a week industry. Like
and,
we
and
make
it
a
might just
billion
be
dollars.
And it might just be time for a rebrand. The A's haven't been like we were talking about the Pirates the other day. Like the A's haven't been good for quite some time either. So
They
maybe it's
definitely not
time,
good this year. They're like
you
three and
know.
17.
Yeah, we were talking about the Bash brothers, McGuire and Canseco, because I mean, the Raiders won 3 Super Bowls in Oakland. The A's won 4 World Series. You know what I mean? And the Warriors, have 5 titles. I mean, granted, I think they were playing in Chase last year, so I can't necessarily give that one to Oakland. But you know what I mean?
It's the
Like
same region.
it's
You know
the
what I mean? It's
same
just the
region.
same
Yeah.
region, same fan
So
base. So they've seen success.
right.
It's just that they didn't successfully negotiate how to do it. And then I think, like I said, once that pathway for the Raiders to go to Vegas, listen, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to San Jose, I've been to that area a couple of times
See, San Jose was a spot that I wondered why it wasn't on the table. But go ahead.
because it just you're trading apples for apples at that point. It's like moving from DC to Maryland. Yeah, it's a new environment, it's a new place, but you're just you're not making a big enough splash. It's not going to help with your
Mhm.
rebranding. You're still going to be the Oakland A's. You're just going to play
But
in
they got to
San
change
Jose.
the way that they are. This Moneyball stuff ain't going to work in Vegas.
The thing about Vegas is like, listen, man, I paid for a show called Zoomanity. It was like a huge
Yes.
Cirque du Soleil show, and it had a little person on a curtain swinging around, and women come out in the audience, motorboating people. It was crazy. I probably wouldn't go to that event in, you know, Mount Holly, New Jersey, But in Vegas, cool. I'm gonna break off $96 for these tickets and drink these big ass drinks because it's
Yeah.
Vegas. I'm gonna do that stuff because it's Vegas. So I think people will come there because that was my thing. I didn't think that the Raiders are gonna be able to fill that stadium.
Right.
But me and you were talking about this. I have a friend works in travel out there, and every once in a while, like her employer gets box tickets to these games.
Hmm.
So they gets box tickets, and she'll post a picture on social media, whatever the case may be, and then I'll look at some more just aspects of the stadium that it has set up. The section behind the goalpost is like $1 million section. It's you buy it out and you buy tickets for like a bunch of people, and it's champagne, lobster, seafood, caviar, bottle service, the whole night. It's like a nightclub
Right.
in the end zone, and it's probably like I think it's like it can go up to like $1 million. It's like you're just throwing the craziest party. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna sell out. Every week, somebody's in that section.
Hey, am I
There
an
is a
old guy?
millionaire poker player or somebody who's buying out that section, and it's gonna. And I think the Oakland Athletics are looking at it like, yo, we can do the same thing because not like the Raiders have been any good.
Hey, am I old guy for wanting the NBA teams to wear white at home?
Yeah, probably.
But
But
but I
you
was
probably
looking
want
at
their
this.
shoes to match the jerseys too.
Nah, that's fine.
I like the soccer style stuff.
But this might not be the last time we see this, because I saw, I was reading up and I saw that Tampa's deal with their stadium runs out in 2027, and I know during the COVID year there was talk of them playing some games in Montreal, so I know Montreal could be on the table for Tampa. But I thought of Portland as another place that the A's could have moved as well. I thought about Nashville. Those were just little towns that I had in my mind, because
Because
Portland just
you like nostalgia.
no, no,
You know,
Portland just made sense because they do the money ball thing, and I think of the Blazers in Portland now as a loser city. So it makes sense that the A's would move to another loser city,
yeah, they
and
don't want to do
then
that no more. They want
yeah,
$1 million suites. They
and
want to
then
sell out. They want $1 million suites. They want Dan Blanzerian, the poker guys. They want all these. They want Mayweather. They want these people to come sit in their luxury boxes, have the bottle service. They want Vegas, Dre's, MGM Grand, luxury, ballin', swag out environment. Because you can go 81-81 and no one would care because
right.
the Oakland A's games are lit.
Well, I thought about Nashville just because I thought I had read at one point in time that like Justin Timberlake was a part of the team or the part of the ownership group that was trying to get the MLB there, and I just thought that would have been cool at the time. So I love this. Sabonis is getting the booze every time he touches the ball treatment. But yeah. But I am sad because Oakland A's are a team that I attached to my baseball fandom, I guess.
The
Because
earthquake when they had the World Series
yeah,
against the
like
Giants,
moments like that. And
Dennis
speak,
Eckersley, Ricky Henderson. Yeah.
yeah, and speaking of earthquakes, I just want everybody to know, since we're talking about baseball, the Pirates have won 5 games in a row. They are now 14-7. They are 7 games above 500. So Pirates Appreciation Day rocks on. But yeah, but the Oakland A's is just a team that like and I mean we're older, we're in our 40s now. So when you ask me like when you think of baseball, what are some teams that come to mind? There's like, of course, there's going to be the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Orioles, just because I'm from Baltimore. But Oakland's in that next tier of teams that I think of. Like you got like the Cubs, the Red Sox, the A's. Like they're just right there in that mix of like
Yeah,
that
but
second
it's
tier of teams.
like the Giants and the Dodgers are the two teams in California
Right,
that can't leave.
right.
The Angels could have gone to Vegas, and people like that makes sense because
They
they don't own LA. It's like the Chargers could leave LA and go back
right,
to San Diego.
right,
The Clippers could leave. The Lakers are staples. And you want to think Oakland's that way, but we associate Oakland with the Raiders
How much does
more than with the Athletics.
how much does having the LA name help the Clippers?
Well, they went for $2 billion when they were valued at like 650 6 months before that, 650 million, and they sold for 2 billion.
Yeah.
Like unless that Forbes article that I read was just estimations and they went on the low end, so they were a little bit felt like they were more accurate, but even none of them said $1 billion, and they went for 2 billion a year after that article came out. And I think that's part of it. The reason the Rams moved to LA was because of that. Like, now we're the LA Rams. Their value probably went from 1 billion in St. Louis to 3.5 as soon as they moved to LA.
Yeah.
As soon as they changed the helmet, it went up $2 billion.
The turnover source pool, in the starting lineup. The first basket of the game. Yeah, but I just it was just something that I always wondered because the Clippers left San Diego, the Chargers left San Diego,
and the
Warriors
Chargers left for the same reason that Oakland did. They couldn't get the stadium together.
The Warriors were originally the San Francisco Warriors when they left Philadelphia, and then eventually changed their name to Golden State, I guess, so they could just represent the state at large,
California,
even though they still stayed in the same area, and all that kind of stuff. So like, it just made me wonder because like with Oakland moving to Vegas, does that potentially open the door for another team to move to California, or does that open the door for another California expansion team if baseball decides to expand again?
I would say it'd be more likely to get an NBA team in Vegas before you got another baseball team in Oakland. Even with your Tampa Bay theory, they probably want to keep them in the AL East.
Right.
Them going up to Montreal makes sense.
Right.
They stay in the AL East, and now baseball has another city, another Providence. I think that's what it.
Province. Yeah.
Up in Canada that they can now sell. So because you got Toronto and Montreal, I think they're all in Quebec.
Yeah.
So you basically have that whole area on Smash, and you have the hockey. So you have the hockey that connects Canadians to American sports.
Right.
So it's not like you're putting if you put an NFL team in Canada, it's not the same because they're connected to their Canadian football.
Why is there no team in Vancouver?
It's too far west.
Because I know like
being west is the problem. Being west is you have to be west, and you either have to have a name on the front of your jersey or the names on the back of your jersey that move the needle.
Yeah, because I've heard people they talk about because I've heard people talk about NBA expansion, and I've heard some people saying that like Vancouver should get another team, for example. But
didn't work. It's right now. It is 10:19 here in Jersey. This game is 8:40 left in the first quarter. Luckily, I don't have to get to my office until 9 a.m. So I can fall asleep at 1, get 7 hours of sleep, wake up at 8, get dressed, and get ready to work. Most people don't have that luxury to staying up till 1 o'clock to watch a game. And this is how it is.
Right.
When the game went to overtime last week, I was like, come on, man. I'm ready to go to sleep. And then it went to overtime. That just added more time to it. So I think that's part of it. And we do have an East Coast bias, but if you look at the 400 million live in the United States, it's like 270 million live east of the Mississippi. It's like 130 are divided them up the rest of the country.
Everywhere else, yeah.
Everywhere else. But 60%, 65% of people live on this side of the country. So there's a little bit more lean this way. Hence why Chicago plays in the Eastern Conference, because you want Jordan playing against the Knicks.
The Pac-12.
The Pac-12 joining the Big Ten. What's going on? But they want to play their games in the Eastern time zone. They'll play a game against Purdue or Indiana just to play that game at 7 p.m. on East Coast time.
I just want the Timberwolves in the East at some point.
Like I said, my idea I think it's gonna come true. I give it 2 years before they come up with it. They're going to get another team in Seattle. They'll then they'll get a team in Vegas. So whenever LeBron retires, him, Floyd Mayweather, and Oprah are going to get a team in Vegas. Maybe
Oh, bruh.
Diddy,
No Ellen
maybe
DeGeneres, huh?
Clutch Sports and Rock Nation. Maybe they'll get together, get a team in Vegas. And then Jay-Z will do like him and Beyonce would do like a little show at the MGM of the Bellagio. Tickets would be
Yeah.
$900 each. You know, these money people they know how to make the money, and I figure Oakland just wasn't cutting out that money. They weren't cutting their check to keep the team there. So they're like, listen, we can go 70-92 in Nevada, and people won't care because we'll have bottle girls in the audience.
So I promise, me bringing up Minnesota was independent of this topic. But apparently Minnesota wants Trey Lance.
I think that's a good idea.
Let's hear it.
The issue is this. Is San Francisco, are they taking calls hoping that a team who wants one of these young 4 quarterbacks, because that's the difference. This year, with it being, because we had the 5 quarterbacks go in the first round a couple of years ago with the Mac Jones, Trey Lance included, Trevor Lawrence, what's the boy name? Justin Fields, and I'm missing the name. Because 5 went.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now.
I'm drawing a blank too, but those 5 guys went that year.
Yeah.
I think now with there being 4 quarterbacks, San Francisco's looking like everyone's going to want one of these 4 quarterbacks. We're going to talk about that in the draft section of our next topic. They figure maybe it's one of those teams that can't get one of these 4 quarterbacks that are essentially being hyped. One guy was playing for national champion. Well, 2 guys, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, were playing and competing for national championships in their couple of years at their school. Anthony Richardson was going 9 for 27 in games. Then another game, he'll throw for 450 yards. Will Levis, 19 touchdowns, 12 picks. He looks like he was created to play quarterback. And then you look at his numbers and it's like, you should have just played tight end. But the hype train is getting these guys pushed up. So San Francisco is like, man, a lot of the guys that are coming out, well, the bigger 2 are more of a project than the guy we have sitting here healing.
Right.
So if somebody wants to give us, the best you're going to get, man, is, for lack of a better phrase, I don't want to equate Trey Lance to money, but it's going to be pennies on the dollar because you gave up 3 first-round picks to get him. And it's like, you're not going to get a first-round pick back. If you get a 3rd and a 6th, I can't imagine any other team. Like, maybe somebody is feeling frisky and they'll give you a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 5th. Best case scenario, because it's like they know you're in a bind because you have Sam Darnold as your free agent who couldn't win a 7-on-7 game right now against high schoolers. Brock Purdy, who's saying he might not play all year, and he was unproven because he only played 1 road game.
Mr. Irrelevant.
And then you got Trey Lance. You were trying to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo for 2 years, and then you needed him.
You know what's funny, real quick? How do we forget the MILF Hunter?
Jimmy G?
No, Zach Wilson. That was the other quarterback.
That's the other guy, because he's super irrelevant.
The Provo MILF Hunter.
The Provo MILF Hunter.
Yeah, but anyway,
he was a BYU Cougar, so he likes Cougars.
There you go. Symbology.
So I think the Jets will probably be. I think the Jets could move Zach Wilson for more than what San Francisco could move and get for Trey Lance. But I think it makes sense for Minnesota because he's from there. That's one thing. He's from Minnesota. You're not sold on Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins isn't going to be a diva if you bring Trey Lance in. I think he would literally. Kirk Cousins seems like the type of guy that in the middle of practice, they'd be like, all right, we're going to do a 10-play drive for practice. You're going to get 10 reps.
Yeah.
He seems like the type of guy that would take 4 reps and give Trey Lance 6.
Right. I
Like
can see that.
he just seems like someone that would just do that. So I think in that regard, it's a good move for Minnesota. It just depends on how much San Francisco thinks they're going to get for him.
I just don't know what these teams, whoever they may be besides Minnesota, I just don't know what these teams think they're getting when they get Trey Lance. I mean, I guess you got the whole untapped potential thing. Like in college, he threw 30 touchdowns to 1 interception, but he barely threw over 300 passes total. So it's not as if you have this big body of work. So that's where when you say that it's a good move for Minnesota, my reaction is like, well, yeah, if they just want to start all over, like if they're just trying to go back to square one and build from the ground up, because as is, they get a couple of DBs in there and they're a contender to win their division, as is. They're a contender to win their division with some corners. They keep Dalvin Cook. Right matchups, they can make a run to NFC Championship game, something along those lines.
I think they feel like they can win a division right now as their team is currently constructed, and then be better going forward with Trey Lance.
Maybe.
And the upside, that whole phrase,
Maybe.
upside.
So another team that I heard mentioned with Trey Lance was Houston. So I guess that could make sense. DeMeco Ryans would have been one of the few head coaches that has seen this dude day in, day out. Practice, whatever the case may be, his tendencies. But I also don't think that if DeMeco Ryans doesn't go get him, that's an indictment on him either. But but unless DeMeco Ryans saw something that stood out to him, but I don't see that because you have the chance to draft your franchise quarterback, not the leftover franchise quarterback that somebody else drafted.
That's the thing. I don't think Trey Lance. I think he had a better run than Zach Wilson. I think if he played a full season, his ability to scramble and get out of the broken ankle is a freak thing.
Right.
Guys get tackled every play. It's just one of those. It just has to be the angle. Your foot's in the dirt one way, you roll the other way, and unfortunately, you break your ankle.
Well, he also,
Tom Brady tore his ACL in the pocket. So it's like,
course,
the injuries happen, but I think people look at the fact that he's 6'4". He seems, as far as you haven't heard anything negative from him.
No.
Even
and of course, this doesn't necessarily mean anything. But I mean, he did go to North Dakota State, so it's not as if we saw him against the best of the best, or whatever. So that may not mean anything. But
but we saw Mac Jones against the best of the best, and it looks awful. We've seen Zach Wilson against some of the top competition.
Yeah, but we knew that Mac Jones had
talent.
But we knew that Mac Jones had wide receivers for days. Like we knew that.
People literally.
Trey Lance ain't have wide receivers for days.
People were on TV saying that Mac Jones is going number 3. They were saying that San Francisco traded up from 12 to 3 to take Mac Jones.
I think that was, but
prominent. Adam Schefter, who's the other guy that is always on, like Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, Peter King. It was people out there saying that he was going to go number 3 overall.
I think that was more so
Zach Mack.
I think that was more so people looking at Kyle Shanahan quarterbacks, looking at Matt Ryan or looking at
these guys were saying, I've been in rooms with.
They were lying.
I've heard
people were blowing smoke up their ass.
They were adamant that it was going to be Mac Jones. I couldn't believe it. I was yelling at the TV. I probably called you every single time I heard it because I was like, why did you don't have, like, if you want Mac Jones, cool. But you don't give up 3 first-round picks to get a guy in an offense where you were talking about you need a mobile quarterback.
Well, to me, Mac Jones had Patriot written all over him. Especially when I found out his name was like McCorkle or something like that. Saying like that just sounded like a Patriot through and through. You know what I mean? Like Chris Hogan style. You know what I mean? but like when I look at Trey Lance, I just don't. So like okay, so like let's look at
I'm just watching Golden State trying to keep their season alive.
Yeah, they're up 23-14 right now. So but yeah. So Michael McCorkle Jones, like that just sounds like a Patriot to me. But exactly. but when I was looking at like somebody like Anthony Richardson, for example, You know what I mean? You had moments, even though we talked about his low completion percentage, you know, you had moments where you saw him will his team to come back against Alabama and be a 2-point conversion away from knocking off Alabama. You know, you've seen him play against Georgia. So whatever inferences you want to make about him based
Beat
off of what
Utah
you think about Georgia, he beat Utah, all that good, all
with a
that
hell of
stuff
a
like
play
that.
on that 2-point conversion.
Yeah. Whereas with Trey Lance, like, what's the college moment or what's the team that he beat that stands out to say this is the guy, or you know, whatever outside of he looks like the guy? Because I saw some comparisons where people were comparing him to Josh Allen, for example. So, you know, I can understand how a team might hear a Josh Allen comparison and be enamored, but I don't think that you're bringing Trey Young in.
Trey Lance.
If I'm sorry, Trey Lance, you ain't bringing Trey Young in either because apparently he's the most overrated player in the NBA. I support that, by the way. But Trey Lance, you know, like if you're bringing him in, you're not trying to win this year or next year, even maybe because even the talk coming
Why
out
not?
of because like even when he was being drafted, a lot of the talk was he was Memphis Bleak. He was one hit away. So you were gonna get at least 2 years out of Trey. I keep wanting to say Trey Young so bad. You're going to get like 2 years out of Lance before you get that step, you know. And then we saw him, you know, get injured in his first start, so he's still behind the ball to some degree from the standpoint of I'm expecting him to just come in.
He's got 2 years of being in a professional NFL passing program without his confidence being crushed. He got injured.
Well, I saw Detroit as a spot that he could go to.
That doesn't make any sense because I think Jared Goff has 6 more years left.
Well, so the spot that came to my mind, it doesn't make a lot of sense, I'll admit, because you're not going to trade him within your division and all that stuff. But I thought if you had him in Seattle sitting behind Geno for a year or two,
that doesn't make any sense because they just paid him.
I know that's why I said it doesn't make sense. Like that's part of why it doesn't make sense. But I just think that Geno would be a good quarterback for him to come up under from the standpoint of overcoming adversity, being the I don't know what the word is. I guess Geno had a little bit of hype, not Trey Lance hype, but he had a little bit of hype.
He had potential first round hype. He was at the draft for the first round, and then he slipped to the second. First night he had a suit on. Second night he had like a sweater with a tie. I remember that. Because I thought he was a first round quarterback.
Okay, so let's do our game then. Let's walk this through. You know, where's a good spot for Trey Lance?
Trey Lance. I like Minnesota.
I like Tennessee.
I don't like Tennessee unless they're going to completely cut ties with Malik Willis. Because it's just
it makes sense. Okay.
I want Trey to come in behind a guy that is productive, but potentially on his way out.
He either has to be the star. He either has to be the man, or there has to be a succession plan.
I think he would.
So he could go sit behind Aaron Rodgers or something.
I mean,
no, I'm not saying that's the move.
Aaron's not a teacher.
No, I'm not saying that's the move. I'm just saying like where
because Aaron's probably thinks he can play until he's 45 like Tom.
I'm just saying that there should be a
see Tampa Bay behind Baker Mayfield.
Yep, I got Tampa written down on my paper. Yep.
Tampa Bay. Yep. So Minnesota, Tampa Bay. If Baltimore doesn't sign Lamar and they do get a vet, I say you can make that move there. I like Houston. I think Houston bringing him in to start this year and drafting the best player available, number 2 overall, or they bring him in, they give San Francisco a 3rd and a 6th or something like that. Like I said, you're not going to get the same value you got for the trade.
Yeah, Houston is probably the best spot.
Now, Houston trades from 2 to 7. And then Oakland goes up and they make a move or whatever, or 2 to 6, because I think Detroit's at 6. So maybe you even go down to like, I wouldn't want to go lower than 8. I don't think Atlanta's gonna move off their pick. They're definitely not gonna go up.
Right.
So you move a 3rd and a 6th, and that way now someone who wants Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, Indy gives you the house to go from 4 to 2. So now you have 4. You can still probably get Will Anderson at 4, or if not Will Anderson, you can get Jalen Carter.
Jalen
Granted,
Carter, yeah.
our draft prospecting is going to have this conversation, but I think there's a few teams. I mean, maybe
I think
in
Houston.
division, maybe the Rams are feeling froggy and they bring them down and sit behind
See, now
Stafford for
that's
a
what I mean,
year.
a succession plan. Where
Yeah,
you got a
yeah.
starter
I
and
need him
then
to come off. I need him to come off the injury. I need him to come off the bad first year where he was probably bestowed into a pressure cooker because they gave up so many picks to get him, and then luckily Jimmy G was there to save him as a so he didn't get overly criticized because Jimmy G was still there. The 49ers as an organization took the criticism as like, why would you move all these picks to get a guy when you had Jimmy G and look how successful Jimmy G is? And then he comes back and he gets hurt. So it was like, okay, injury happens. Jimmy G comes in again and Brock Purdy comes in again. And now Shanahan looks like the quarterback whisperer. There hasn't been a lot of criticism, like a mass amount of criticism of Trey Lance. So I think he still has enough confidence, or his confidence hasn't been torn apart by the media to the point where I think he could go to a team that has an established quarterback and then he can be their next plan. And that'll give him 2 full years with Shanahan. And whatever I feel about Shanahan, he knows something about quarterback play and route design and play design and schematics and so forth and so on. So you take that knowledge of 2 years and then you go to Minnesota, LA, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't know how great of a quarterback he is, but I think he's another one of those guys that I think he could learn from him. I think he can see the adversity. The same thing you had with the Geno Smith situation is like you can see what adversity looks like. You see it moving around.
Yeah, so I like Houston just off of him potentially, and this is just guessing, him potentially having a relationship with DeMeco Ryans. They at least know each other. But at the
And in
same
Houston,
time,
he can start. In Houston, he can start.
yeah,
And rebuild.
yeah.
He'll play 8 games indoors because he had that game in Chicago in the rain. That looked pretty bad.
Right.
8 games indoors. Another game in Jacksonville. Another game in Indy
but I
that's
still
indoors.
think
A game
that
in
if I'm
Tennessee that's probably
Houston,
warm.
but I still think that if I'm Houston, I think I like the prospect of having the number 2 pick and drafting my own quarterback. So I think I like that, but I think it could make sense. I think Tampa makes a lot of sense. Depending on how Green Bay feels about Jordan Love. Once they move Aaron Rodgers, finally, hopefully this thing comes to some completion at some point soon.
What if it doesn't happen?
I mean, if it doesn't happen,
what happens if it doesn't happen?
If it doesn't happen, then San Francisco need to get on the horn. But
nah, man, leave Aaron out of San Francisco.
But from that standpoint, depending on how they feel about Jordan Love, one way or the other, I guess you can bring Trey Lance there potentially as a curveball. Outside of that, I just don't see many teams where it makes sense, unless Washington did something, like potentially. But if I was Washington, I would just make the move for Lamar Jackson, so it just doesn't make sense to me to get great value Lamar Jackson.
Indy make the move with a third and a 6th, and they keep their 4th. They keep number 4. They get the best player available.
So this is the thing. So if you would have said this 2 weeks ago, I'd have probably been like, nah. But thinking about it and thinking about who Indy just hired as their head coach and that he had the success with Jalen Hurts, I could see that potentially making sense. That I probably wouldn't have thought about that 2 weeks ago, but now that I've had a second to think about it, that could make sense.
I think every team that needs a quarterback, to include Carolina, I would include Carolina in this mix because essentially what you're getting with Trey Lance is the same. You're getting a project at the quarterback position, whether you have Trey Lance as your starter or you draft Stroud, Levis, Richardson, or Young, or even Hooker, right? Vernon Hooker.
Yeah.
So if we go with those are our top 5 guys, our 5 first round guys, each team that I mentioned could take one of those quarterbacks. If you're going to take one of those quarterbacks, I would also like, you know what? Let's look at Trey Lance because San Francisco, if they're taking calls, it's obvious that they're ready to move off from him.
Right.
See what you can
I
see.
mean, for
See
better
what
or
they'll
worse,
take.
for better
See
or
what they'll
worse,
take.
for better or worse, Purdy has at least made a conversation of this could be my job. You know what I mean? Regardless of how we feel about him or how anybody feels about him, results on the field, he can say like, "Hey, this is my team going forward until it's not." You know,
I
but
got one more team. I think it might surprise you. San Francisco. Just keep them.
yeah, that makes
Like,
that.
I mean, I get it. You're the quarterback whisperer, but it's like you've been whispering to this dude for 2 years.
Well, you're saying that makes the most sense because think about it.
It makes the most
Think
sense.
about it like this. You know, Trey Lance comes in, plays awesome this season. People will call you about Brock Purdy next year. You know what I mean? If Trey Lance doesn't necessarily look the best, you keep Brock Purdy, and people still gonna want Trey Lance based off potential. So I
This
mean,
Brock Purdy, Jeremy Lin, kind of
Austin
run,
Reeves. I mean, no,
Austin Reeves kind of run. It's gonna come to an end because it's only you got a guy. He's not very big with an elbow injury. I don't know how big of an arm he had, but I
right?
imagine any Tommy John equivalent type of surgery, ligament repair in your elbow, it takes a while. I mean, it took
Yeah,
Steven Strasburg a whole year, which most pitchers it does. But even with
yeah.
that, they had him on a pitch count.
He
Like they
might
took
come
him out
back.
of a no hitter because he was on a pitch
He
count,
might come back.
and that
Chad
was his third
Pennington.
year in the league.
He might be Chad
He
Pennington
might
when he
come
come
out there
back.
like Tua out there throwing 25-mile-an-hour balls, and they wonder why
Yo,
he's so accurate. Like, hey, he's throwing fucking
yo,
screen
I
passes.
just realized I'm such a sicko, because Golden State is up 9 at the end of the first quarter, but the Clippers and Suns just got underway. And the first thing I thought when I saw the tip off was, please let Russ win this game with no Kawhi, no Paul George, and just beat Durant and his like Monstar squad or what. Like, give
Russ
Russ
going
this
for
moment. Give
Russ going for 29 points, 11 assists, 7 boards,
give
7 turnovers.
give Russ this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like
When
basketball
they go over
gods,
there.
give Russ this moment.
And that's the thing. Russ wants that moment. He tied his shoes up, got the ankle tape on, thinking, I'm gonna go out
I
here
want
and
it.
take this game.
I want it for him. Just eat your cupcakes, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but yeah, so we've been talking about it a little bit. The NFL draft is next week, so there's going to be some quarterback movement going on. As I mentioned earlier, I was playing around. I did my own little mock draft for the first time in life. I don't even know if I like it or not, but it's mine. You know what I mean? So yeah, so let's get to it. Like, you know what I mean? What you got, Raph? Who going number one?
You got the draft order, right? Because I got
I got the draft order. I got
okay.
no trades. This is no trades, people. So I know
So
that people have been
I'm
calling
odds.
Arizona.
So I'm odds.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll be odds.
All right, odds. Number 1, Carolina. And I'm taking CJ Stroud. I take CJ Stroud. I think he played smart. I think he played to stay healthy this year. That's why everyone was surprised at his mobility in the Ohio State game. I knew he was. A lot of these guys are athletes. They're like top prime athletes. It's the same thing when you're growing up. The pitcher normally was your best baseball player in your team. Quarterbacks are normally pretty athletic. Play a couple of sports. So I got CJ Stroud. He worked his way up in high school to get the rating that he got. It wasn't really handed to him. He played a year behind Justin Fields, was able to learn. And then he had 2 really good years at Ohio State. I know the knock on Ohio State quarterbacks is that they don't translate, but I can't do that. It's the same argument that people had with Megatron because Detroit kept drafting wide receivers. They're like, oh, can't do it again because you kept drafting wide receivers and it didn't work out. It was like, listen, the 6'5", 230-pound, 21-year-old, yeah, I'm taking him.
Give me that.
Give me that, yeah. Yeah, I'm taking that. Like, if I mess it up, I mess it up. But you can see why. Like, I went this route. Like, you can understand, like, it just didn't work out. It happened to work out because in the Hall of Fame. So I like CJ Stroud, number 1 overall. Big quarterback. They traded away their big wide receiver weapon. They brought in Adam Thielen. I don't know if he's going to be your number one. I don't know if they plan on trying to get, maybe another Ohio State wide receiver or something like that. I don't know if they have that in the works. But yeah, I'm taking CJ Stroud just because big body. He's going to take some hits. Luckily, they're playing in the soft division with not a lot of pass rushers, so I think he'll be safe for 6 games.
Every time I see Chris Paul shoot a 3-pointer, it makes my back hurt. So I think that CJ Stroud is the most NFL ready quarterback in this draft right now. Like, I think he's the one that translates the best as far as day one starter, step on the field. You feel confident. You feel like your quarterback gives you a shot to win and doesn't hinder you. I think that Bryce Young is probably the highest. I don't know if potential is the right word because I think he's good too. But I think of him in that, don't kill me because I'm not saying what you think that I'm saying. But
I'm killing you just because you prefaced it that way.
Yeah.
Fire off.
I think of Bryce.
Water. I'm gonna fire off.
Yeah. Get ready. Get your takes ready. You know what I'm saying? I think of Bryce Young in that Mahomes vein from the standpoint of
why.
Because I got to. But I'm not saying no. I am not going to let you do this to me because last time when I tried to have the race conversation, you tried to bully me and talk over me. I ain't going to let you do it this time. No, I'm not saying that he is Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he will be Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying anything along those lines. What I'm saying is he's just a playmaker. He improvises and he makes stew out of shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's that guy. So from that standpoint is where I look at him as a Mahomes type. He's obviously small, so he can't be Mahomes just based off size in the first place.
Number one team.
I know, but you forget.
Ranked number one.
No, but you forget.
They were number one talent team.
All those receivers.
He didn't have to improvise a lot.
But all those receivers left. So this season he had to play with.
Hadn't given up sacks the whole career in Alabama.
Hey, I will advise you.
Mac Jones back there with no mobility.
I will advise you to go back and watch some Alabama film from this year. This was not your typical Alabama that we see every year. Yes, they were probably 5 stars. Yes, they were probably the highest recruited out of high school. But on that field, they were not playing like that. That offensive line was not playing like that. Those receivers were not playing like that. There were no Jerry Judys out there. There was no Devontae Smiths out there. Like I said, he was making stew out of shit. So with that being said, I got him going number 2 to Houston. I got Bryce Young going number 2 to Houston.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm not by no means I just don't. I don't like the comparison.
You just don't like the fact that I said Mahomes. That's all.
And I don't like it because I think you don't say that somebody who paints reminds you of Da Vinci because of the way they use colors. It's like, no, the way Da Vinci used colors was an extra, just alien level ability to use paint and canvas. And
but it was so like when people
what Mahomes does at the NFL level he had a C+ wide receiver core this year and won the Super Bowl and the MVP. That's Mahomes.
Yes.
Nobody should be compared to Mahomes because what Mahomes is doing is one of one.
Bro.
So the problem I have is people comparing that the Mahomes like a Mahomesian and all those other little
spoiler alert
that they assign.
Spoiler alert. As long as there are sports and there are drafts, people are going to be compared to people in that current league.
But there are so many other players that they could have literally just compared him to Drew Brees. Which makes the most.
That is who they compare him to, but I don't want to sound like everybody else. I got my own opinions.
No,
why you want me to sound like what you see on FS1?
The fact that he's 5'11", 194, not 204. He just went ate some barbecue in Indianapolis and got on a scale before he took his shit. He's not 204.
What you're gonna get?
He's 5'10", 190.
What you're gonna get is 2.5. You ain't going to get Chris Broussard. You ain't going to get Brady Quinn. I'm going to tell you what I see. I'm not going to repeat the same things that they say. All I'm saying is I'm not saying that this dude will ever be as good as Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's going to be in the same sentence as Patrick Mahomes.
I'm just saying that he's Mahomes.
I'm just saying that from the standpoint.
It.
I'm just saying that from the standpoint of improvisation and the things that he does on the field, the decision making and that type of thing, it does remind me of Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have Patrick Mahomes' skill. Nobody has Patrick Mahomes' skill. So that's why I'm saying I'm not making a comparison from. That's why I had to say I'm not saying what you think I'm trying to say.
No, I'm not saying you're making a comparison, and I get that. I'm not saying you're making a comparison. What I'm saying is that if you're not making a comparison, a 1-for-1 comparison, i.e.,
Kaminga, why are you doing that?
I think Will Levis has a Josh Allen kind of arm, strong arm, not accurate. That's a comparison. But if you try to tell me, I think Tua's arm is live just like Josh Allen, except he doesn't throw it as hard, then the comparison's not there. So that's what I'm saying. So when you say Mahomes, I need championships out of that core of players they had at Alabama that wasn't top notch. I need undefeated seasons out of that core. If you want to tell me that he elevated
as some of these
group to a great level, because
as some of these SEC fans would tell you, they lost 2 games on the last play of the game.
I'm not saying.
And he put up 49 points. He put up 49 points in one of those games, and he put up 30 points in the other one. So you know what I mean.
But even with that, then I need every drive in the second half you get touchdowns instead of field goals with this core. Like you have to do the extra. Cam Newton has 3 other guys on that Auburn championship team that got drafted. That's so you give me that and compare it to somebody that's in the NFL. I'm not saying Bryce Young has a lot of caveats, and honestly, he is small.
Right.
We need to stop and that's the thing. I think people say the Mahomesian part.
Right.
To try to, I don't want to say justify because that's not the right word. You like him, and I get it. As an analyst, can like Bryce Young, they can like all his footwork and his skill set, but we have math, and we can see that your offensive line averages 6'3.5", 6'4", and he's 5'11". Baker Mayfield is about 5'11", 6 foot. He's a little thicker. Kyler Murray is listed at 5'10". He's definitely 5'8.5", 5'9" top. I've seen him take pictures with some cheerleaders, and they were pretty much the same height. And we've seen how that happened.
Well, also, this dude hasn't played a down in the NFL yet. He's going to gain some weight, I'm sure.
Nah, listen. I've seen his dad is tall. His mom is average height. And he didn't get the dad gene. He got the mom gene. So it's like,
oh man.
And I get it. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. It's just that I need people to be honest. He's a good quarterback. He checks all the boxes, but he's small. So this could be a bad thing for Houston. That's the honest answer. But
all right, who you got at number 3? Who you got at number 3?
I'm gonna go defense. Will Anderson, Arizona. It's a rebuild year. Kyler Murray is probably not going to come back. I think he tore his ACL pretty late, like December timeframe. Best case scenario, with a guy who moves that much, best case scenario you get him back is October, November. So I foresee Arizona sitting him. Will Anderson, edge rusher, smart, humble kid, good family. None of this ESPN bullet points. It's like, oh yeah, both of his parents were in jail. He had to raise himself, and none of that.
Did he ever buy lunch for a teammate?
I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure some dealership hooked him up with a couple of cars down in Tuscaloosa as well. I drove through there. It's burgundy everywhere. It's no orange or blue in the city of Tuscaloosa. It is burgundy everywhere.
As it should.
Stores, even Dr. Pepper. That's why.
Yo, hold up, real quick.
Put a burgundy can.
Yeah, before we go forward, I got to bring it up, man. Hey, why my man called the Firebomb Show to tell him that he killed the trees?
That's why I went down there and poisoned them trees, and then tried to go to court. So I didn't say that.
Harvey Updike,
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I like the Will Anderson pick at number 3. I definitely think he will be the first defensive player taken, unless You know, a lot of people have been talking about Tyree Wilson. So unless somebody, reaches down and grabs him, I think Will Anderson will probably be the first defensive player taken.
And I
So
like Jalen Carter too, but I just think that I
I think
think
he's going to fall some.
I think Arizona would probably I think they would go edge rusher versus interior.
Yeah, and I think
And he
he's
has
going. I think
and he has a couple, he has a couple off the field
yeah,
things that
yeah,
could
he's going to
happen.
fall
So, but
some. Not necessarily because of that per se, but he was a little out of shape and all that stuff too. So
yeah, it might be one of those things where it's like, does he work hard or was he just really good at football?
right, right.
Just definitely a
And
talent. But
did he just play on the 85 Bears too? That too.
yeah, did he play on the best defense? He just happened to be just the biggest dude on the best defense.
Yeah, so number 4, I'm gonna switch it
Before
up a little
Indy.
bit. Number 4, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. You know what I'm
What you
saying?
got?
Because I know everybody gonna expect me to say Anthony Richardson right here because we ain't said him yet. I'm going with the Kentucky dude. I'm going with Will Levis
You
because
getting fired?
I told no, I'm not saying that this is my pick. I'm saying that this is what I
Okay.
think. This is what I think could happen because remember I told you how Philip Rivers gave Indianapolis the stamp on Shane Steichen to hire him as the head coach because he was Philip Rivers' offensive coordinator at one point, and he gave them the stamp of approval. So from reports that I had read early in the draft process, apparently Peyton Manning gave the Colts the blessing on Will Levis. So that's where I was going with that.
And
I
we
just
know Jim Irsay likes to hire his friends and listen to his friends.
yeah,
He gave one of them a head coaching job.
Yeah, so I think Will Levis has prototypical looking guy,
Quarterback face.
but he's a bum. You know what I'm saying? He's got like that Jeff George thing going on.
So why do you do you really think that he's gonna go for, like, you have the choice? Like, who are you picking? Not who do you think they're gonna pick? Who are you picking it for? If
if it
who
were
would you
me,
pick if it were you?
if
We're
I
the
was
GM.
Indianapolis,
We're the GMs in this top 10. We're the GMs.
if I was Indianapolis, I would piss the Ravens off and offer Lamar Jackson something that he can't refuse.
Yeah,
That's what I would do if I was the
like
Colts.
that.
If that didn't come in and the Ravens matched whatever I decided to offer him, then looking at this, I would probably end up taking Anthony Richardson if it goes the way that we've been talking as far as Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are already off the board. But if I knew I couldn't get Lamar Jackson, then I would probably explore. If I thought Stroud was going to go number 1 or 2, I would explore trading up to get to one of those spots and try to get Stroud if I was the Colts. But as is,
sitting at 4, you got him taking Richardson.
Yeah, I got him taking left. Yeah.
You're the GM. You're sitting.
Yeah, I would take Richardson if I couldn't get Lamar
Viking
Jackson.
and drinking whiskey.
Yeah,
you're taking Richardson.
Yeah, I would take Richardson, and because the last couple of years, they took Philip Rivers and Matt Ryan. They did that double ARP thing.
As you were talking, I was thinking, I was like, maybe they call Tennessee and see if they can squeeze Tannehill out. But I'm like, that's literally the same thing they've done the last 3 or 4 years.
So now
even if it might work, do you want to do it again, or you want to marry a quarterback to your coach?
See, the Colts are in a position where I feel the Colts are in a position where they just got to swing for the fences. Whether it works or not, they just have to show their fan base that they're willing to swing for the fences. Like after sitting through Matt Ryan, the ghost of Matt Ryan, and Philip Rivers from Christmas Past, they need to show their fans like, hey, we're going to give you a product. We're going to make you come to this stadium and want to cheer for the team that we put out here, besides the fact that you own all these jerseys.
I like it. So who we got at 5?
Seattle
at 5. I'm taking Jalen Carter.
Okay.
When in doubt, I go trenches.
Okay.
I just think you can't go wrong with 6'6", 314, anchored the number 1 defense for 2 years. Yeah, the off the field stuff, I think it's associated with cars and just knucklehead behavior that I think you can bluntly, if you have leaders in the locker room, if you have leaders in the front office, I think you can sit down and say, hey, listen, You got to cut that out.
Right.
And just literally just show them. And like, this is a sad way to do it, but I think this is probably one of the most effective ways. I tell people all the time, it's like, listen, you don't need to send the police to middle school and tell people not to do drugs.
Right.
You need to send 2 photos, a before and an after, of someone who did heroin or meth, and just put those on the board and have the teacher stand up there and say, listen, I'm not even trying to sugarcoat this. This person looked like this, and then 7 months later on the meth, this is what they look like.
Yeah.
Their teeth and everything are gone. With Jalen Carter, you got to just show the mugshot of Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
And say, his career is done. He's gonna be in prison. He's never come back to the NFL. He's physically gifted enough right now to be on an NFL roster, and he's not because of his behavior behind the wheel.
Right.
So you can come up here to Seattle. We're going to teach you how to be the best football player you can be. But when you leave this facility, you need to think about this mugshot. Dante Stallworth, another guy. And Ryan Leaf, I think he had a
Leonard Little.
But the recent history, a guy from the SEC that he might have known because they're in those Southern football circles. He might have known him, heard of him, growing up playing football around the same time. So I think Henry Ruggs only played a couple years, so I imagine that they were pretty close as far as like hearing about him. I'm like, listen, you come up here, play football, use your talents to better your life. Don't be a knucklehead and potentially ruin your life. Or even just give like just a negative stigma to where you're always getting speeding tickets, little stuff like that, because people are going to extrapolate that to saying, okay, you can't adjust to adulthood, which most 21, 22-year-olds can't. It takes a while. I remember back in 2003, I was a knucklehead. I had to learn some stuff.
Right.
But if I had a few $1 million checks coming in, I might have been worse. But you know it's coming. You already know I'm coming with a little bit of baggage. Holla at me. Talk to him man to man. Like, listen, you see what happened with these guys when they do knucklehead stuff off the field. We want your talent on the field. We want you to be a leader. We heard about how you interacted with your teammates that run on scholarship. We heard about the leadership aspects of your existence. We need you to bring that with you to the Northwest.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I got Golden State's up 41-35 with about 3:45 left in the second quarter. Steph Curry 3 for 8, Klay Thompson 2 for 7. And then I got the Clippers up 20-18 over Phoenix with about 1:56 left in the first quarter.
Yeah, so all night watching this basketball game.
I know. So number 6, Detroit Lions on the clock. And I'm going to kind of speed through this one because, we might not make it to get it off my chest tonight. But I'm going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State.
That's high. That's higher than anybody else I've seen.
Yeah. So I mean, right now, so I thought about like looking at the positions that Detroit might look at. I was looking at tight end. So you're not going to probably take a tight end that high. They could go interior on the defense right there as well. But I think with Jackson Smith and Jigba there, I think Quentin Johnson is probably going to be the best receiver in the draft. But I think that a lot of people are selling Jackson Smith and Jigba as the best receiver in the draft. So I figured Detroit's just going to go grab him while he's still sitting there, put him next to Ahmad St. Brown, and call it a day, get that offense clicking. Jared Goff was looking good towards the end of the year. Get another weapon in there, and you make Minnesota think twice about getting Trey Lance.
I like it. But they'll have to do something. So we got Oakland next, right?
Yep, Oakland's next.
Or not Oakland.
I'm sorry, Las Vegas. Las Vegas.
Raiders.
Las Vegas. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jimmy G's your new quarterback. Got Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfro's coming back from injury. You traded away your tight end, which still doesn't make any sense. They should invite him to the wedding, maybe, I guess. But I'll keep it simple. I'm going to go Christian Gonzalez, the corner out of Oregon.
I like it.
Specimen.
So in my mock draft,
197.
So in my mock draft, we ended up with Anthony Richardson right here, but
makes no sense.
But as I was looking down the list, looking at these names, like you see, just in case y'all don't, or I don't know if y'all can see that, but I wrote Gonzalez right there because that's what I thought. That's what I thought made sense.
I just think that when you're in a division with Holmes and Herbert, and then maybe let Russ cook with Sean Payton. And if Denver keeps their wide receivers, I know that there's been a lot of rumblings of Cortland Sutton or Judy being traded.
Yeah.
I'm just like, see if it works. See if that combination works. If that's your 1-2 punch, because Russ has been known to be a distributor of the ball. Like Metcalf got a lot of passes, but so did, you know, Locker and all that. And so did like the tight ends. He divvied the ball out a lot. So
Right.
if you're gonna have that, you got Max Crosby rushing the passer. You're gonna need a corner that can hold up for another half a second to a second in a route and give Max Crosby the time to get there. Chandler Jones on the other side. I'm not a big fan of Josh McDaniels. I don't really think. I think his credentials and his skill set better lie with being an assistant or being a coordinator to a guy who's calling the shots. Some people are just like that. So that's how I feel about him. But yeah, so I'd go Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon to Las Vegas.
Yeah. So if the draft goes down like this, your guys are next, and they got a decision to make. Is Desmond Ritter the future? Is he worth figuring out if he's the future, or do we grab Anthony Richardson if he's still alive? Going off of what we
What is
projected
with
so far.
the Anthony Richardson thing?
Hey,
Nothing about Anthony Richardson or Will Levis says they're first round quarterbacks, other than the fact they're both 6'4".
Hey, you know what? After what San Francisco gave up to get Trey Lance, all that's out the window.
Which is turning out to be a little bit of a mistake.
We'll see. But I'm going with Tyree Wilson here from Texas Tech because I think Atlanta has made some great defensive moves during the offseason.
We about to kill him this year.
And so what's one more edge rusher,
in
a division with no quarterback outside of Derek Carr,
and he gonna throw you too.
Yeah, so I think too. So I think Tyree Wilson, in my mind, originally, so I would have had Tyree Wilson going to Seattle. So I would have had him and Jalen Carter swapped, basically, is the way that I thought about it in my mock draft. But I'm gonna give him Tyree Wilson here, and then we got Chicago at number 9.
Chicago at 9. I'm going offensive line.
Yes, as you should.
Yeah, just O-line and O-line, and then a coach that tells Justin, "Hey man, when you load that hip up, let the ball go."
Yeah, so
he's only gonna be a half yard open. You got DJ Moore. You literally number 1, number 2. Your 1-2 punch. I'm taking Peters Soronsky.
Yep, that's who I had. Yep.
Northwestern.
Yep, that's who I got on my mock draft. Yep. And then number 10, we got Philly. So in my mock draft, it came out Christian Gonzalez right there, but I don't like that. I think that's a little too low for Gonzalez, first of all. And,
I don't think he's not falling to 10.
Yeah. And I think that Philly, like for the needs, I figured Philly needs a guard, a center. So maybe they go offensive line there as well. They could use a safety, but you're probably not going to take a safety that high. They could probably use another wide receiver, but you're probably not going to take one that high because you got 2 good ones already. So
they signed Zacchaeus.
Yeah. So I'm going with Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. So basically, another offensive lineman for them. He's a tackle that they can move over to guard.
So Lane Johnson does get hurt every once in a while.
Yeah, so
you can move him to guard, but then you have a great offensive line core to learn from.
Right. So then we got Tennessee at 11.
Here is probably the Will Levis, Anthony Richardson window, because you have Tannehill, you don't love Malik Willis, You're in a winnable division if you make other simple moves. You keep Derrick Henry, you get Tannehill to just run the play action properly, stop throwing it to the other team. Jacksonville, maybe they can go 10-7, but Houston's going to have a rookie quarterback. Indy's going to have a new quarterback with a new head coach. Same thing in Houston with a new head coach.
Right.
Jacksonville is going to have more expectations to win it because of their playoff performance. I mean, they're probably a couple plays away from beating the Chiefs in that playoff game after Mahomes got injured. Because personally, I would have sent 8 dudes. I'm going to engage 8. I'm cover 0. I'm coming after Mahomes soon as he started limping. I know it sounds heartless, but like lions don't let the wounded wildebeest get a head
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
They just say, listen, this one might be a couple 100 pounds smaller than this other one, but this one's ankle is tore up. We're going to go after this one. So I think
Right.
they could have won. They probably could have won that playoff game and been in the AFC Championship.
Right.
So I think they're gonna have. I think they're gonna have people projecting that they go 11-6. I think there's gonna be a lot of chatter of them running away with the AFC South simply because the Tennessee is gonna be their only threat, and no one really believes in Ryan Tannehill. So I think this is where I'm gonna go Will Levis, just because I think he. I don't think Vrabel wanted a quarterback that moved because I remember he yanked Malik Willis from a preseason game for not throwing the ball.
Right.
And then went to the press conference like, yeah, I want him to throw the ball. I want him to run it.
Right.
So I can see him as a team, especially if they're going to keep his coach and his philosophy. This is where I'll have Will Levis.
All right. So I had Tennessee taking Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver from TCU. I know they drafted the wide receiver from Arkansas, who got hurt and everything a couple games this year. But so then you got Houston at number 12. So they could also be in play for Quentin Johnson because if you're going to get the quarterback, you got to get him a receiver.
You got to get the wide receiver. And
Yeah,
that's
you got to
where
get the right.
Like the drafts I've seen, that's where they had Jackson Enigma going 12 and paired him with CJ Stroud,
which makes sense.
That's
they already have the rapport.
They have Bryce Young going 1, him going 2, and then Houston getting Jackson at 12.
Yeah. So then, so Houston at 12. Like I said, I could see a receiver there, but for the purposes of this, we ended up with Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. Because DeMeco Ryans at the end of the day is a defensive guy. So, he may grab him a defensive guy in the first round and grab some skill positions later.
All right, who we got at 13?
At 13, we got the Jets, the Jetropolitans. And we got Golden State up 12 at the half, 53-41.
So the Jetropolitans.
Yes.
So they got LMNOP, the New York Jets.
Now, of course, this thing could end up with Green Bay. I don't know.
There's no way you give up that pick.
I hope not, but yeah, you never know.
So you just took
Van Ness.
Anthony Richardson, no. Like I said, for me, when in doubt, I'll go trenches. We've already moved the top 2 tackles. So it'll be a bit of a reach at 13. But I get do I go edge here? Nolan Smith, the edge out of Georgia.
Okay.
6'3", 238. Defense played great last year. I think they're young. They fly around. They had the offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. And I think that Robert Saleh being a defensive head coach, they brought in Nathaniel Hackett. Hopefully, he can actually hack it this year
Yeah.
offensively. So I think with that, you want to create turnovers. Best way to create turnovers is either having a guy off the edge that puts that 3 second clock in the quarterback's head goes to 2.5 versus him not getting blocked or him getting blocked and now the quarterback has 4 seconds. So you want that quarterback drop back 2.5 seconds to have somebody at his feet, somebody in his shoulders where he has to step up. The linebacking core and the Jets was one of the best in the league. If they didn't punt that ball down the middle of the field, they would have beaten New England. Zach Wilson can just hit the pass in the flat, like get your feet set. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to make it, so they might have to run it back with Zach Wilson. So I'd get defense, hopefully turn the ball over, give them short fields, give them easier throws by just the Joe Flacco approach that Baltimore had.
Yeah.
We're just going to overwhelm you defensively, and then offense, you just got to figure it out.
Right.
So 14, who we got?
All right, so 14, we got the Patriots. So I was looking at the Patriots. They got Bailey Zappi, so you don't need to grab another quarterback, but you might need an offensive lineman. You might need some defensive rushing, some edge rushing, if you will. So for the Patriots, Bill Belichick always does something crazy.
Yeah. Every year.
So
not even interesting crazy, just something dreadfully boring, like just taking back Jones or some corner out of Iowa that no one heard of, something like crazy like that.
Yeah, so I was going to say in a reach, I can see the Patriots taking Brian Bresee from Clemson.
I think he does have a relationship with a lot of those top college coaches, or just they're like pseudo Belichick disciples. I know anytime him and Nick Saban are in the same area, they're always buddied up shoulder to shoulder for the entirety of whatever that event is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we reach because they got him ranked as number 27 overall prospect.
Yeah, I was looking at because I had Nolan Smith going to Tampa at 19, but all right, so we got number 15, so we got to start running through these now. So 15, we got Green Bay.
Let's go to tight end Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame.
Okay. All right, so Washington at 16. I was thinking tight end Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, but then, as a fan, the fan in me said, go get a damn corner. You know what I'm saying? So I like Joey Porter Jr. right there, but
that's a value pick because he's 12th overall according to CBSSports.com.
Yeah, but also since we didn't I've seen Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois, ranked a lot higher on these boards too, so he could be a pick there, but I'm going to go with Joey Porter. So 17, we got the Steelers.
I'm going to say they go defense. We'll get him an edge guy. We'll get him Miles Murphy out of Clemson, 6'5", 268 off the edge. Seems perfect for even if you have another edge guy, like move one of those guys a linebacker, put the other guy on the edge.
Yeah. All right. So number 18, the Lions. So I said I was going to take Porter at 16 for Washington. So that leaves me with either Witherspoon or Banks for Detroit because I'm going corner here. So I'm going to take Witherspoon for the Lions. So then we got Tampa at 19.
I'm going Bijan Robinson.
Ooh, early. I had Bijan going to Dallas.
Nah, I think Tampa Bay.
They do need.
I don't think they need something there because they don't really have any holes anywhere else. I mean, obviously you can always get offensive line help. You can always get defensive help, but I'm like, what I think their biggest issue is the fact that they weren't even a threat to run the ball.
Yeah, and they don't have Fournette anymore.
Don't have Fournette.
They got Rashard White, who I like a lot, but I don't think he's an every down back. He's probably more of that Tony Pollard kind of back.
Exactly.
So
And then
so
Bijan Robinson, as far as all the talk is like he's the perfect back. So yeah,
all
I'll
right,
take
so
him.
all right, so then we got Seattle at 20. So Seattle at 20, I am going to go with Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, offensive lineman.
Not bad move, not a bad move.
And then we got so of course Miami lost their draft pick. So that puts the Chargers next.
Chargers. What will the Chargers do?
I was wondering if the Chargers would go receiver, but
Like,
maybe not.
do
Because
you need to?
they could go
I
they
mean,
could go
it's listed as one of their needs.
they could probably go linebacker or corner.
So if we go corner, I'm gonna give them Deontay Banks out of Maryland.
Okay. I like him a
10th
lot.
overall prospect. I think he ran like they both ran like the two
Yeah, both
corners
of the
ran
Maryland
around.
corners. Yeah.
Yeah, ran like
But they
14.9 or
they
something like
couldn't
that.
keep up with the Ohio State receivers for some reason.
Yeah, most people couldn't.
All
Excellent route
right.
runners.
So now, guess who we got at number 22? The Ravens. So I'm going to go defense for them. I'm going to go Will McDonald from Iowa State. I thought about a corner there too, but I don't know if there's another corner right now that is worth taking that high.
Who you got?
McDonald. Will McDonald from Iowa State.
All right. And what number was that? You said 22?
That was 22. Yep. So then we got Minnesota at 23. So a lot of people said that they might be able to sneak Hendon Hooker in right there.
Yeah, but for some reason it's not listed as one of their needs.
Well, he's also coming off of this injury too.
It's coming off an injury.
I still think of him as a 3rd round pick.
Yeah,
and he's the same age. And he's the same age as Lamar Jackson and Stetson Bennett.
So I'm taking Stetson Bennett to back up Kirk. I'm joking. Wide receiver.
They did lose Thielen, but I don't know if you need to necessarily grab a receiver.
I mean, you got Osborne gonna move him to the 2. You need another slot guy. I say Zay Flowers.
I like him.
College.
I like him.
I say because you have your defense isn't great, so you need to score a lot of points. So you might as well throw him in the slot and see what happens.
And you know how you killed me about the Mahomes thing?
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day. They said Zay Flower was Tyreek Hill without the hands. All right, so Jacksonville at 24, I'm sorry.
Without the hands.
Yeah.
At wide receiver.
Jacksonville at 24. I'm going offensive line. I'm going Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma because you can never protect your young quarterback too much.
Especially when you're about to give him $275 million.
Yeah.
That's what the price is going to be by the time this contract comes around in the next season.
Yeah. So number 25, we got the G-Men.
Oh, man. They are going to need wide receiver help. I'm getting Jordan Addison out of USC.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can do this job. We could do that job.
So this gives me Dallas at 26. So originally, before you took him, I had Myles Murphy going right there. I thought Bijan could be a threat to go right there because they do need to replace Zeke, as well. So I can see them going running back, but I don't know if there's a running back right now.
I don't know if there's another first
round. Yeah, there's not another one that I
rated
see.
One, yeah.
Yeah, with a first round grade there. So I'm going to go corner for them. I'm going to go Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State.
So, Dallas normally doesn't make. I mean, I guess you could have gone Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's, they have him listed at 5'9", 199.
Yeah, they already got
more
that.
Of a scat back. They already have Pollard.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want it because he is from everything that I gathered, he is like the next back after Bijan Robinson.
Bijan.
But that's why I thought Dallas, if Bijan was available, they would look at him. But I think that Gibbs might be a little smaller than what they need.
All right, so 27 who we got.
So 27, we got the Buffalo Bills, who in my
Bills.
draft they took Zay Flowers, but
I would say Gibbs, but they won't run the ball. So I'd take the next best available offensive lineman.
Okay.
Because they're gonna just run the shit out of the ball, or they're gonna. So Broderick Jones, is he already off the board yet?
No, he is not off the board.
Yeah, so I take Broderick Jones out of UGA, sophomore, so he's raw, so he probably needs some time. Be playing my guard until he gets his feet wet. But
yeah, which is funny because
they're gonna throw 40. They're gonna throw 45 passes a week, and then Josh Allen's gonna run 7 times. So
yeah, which is funny because I was going to take Broderick Jones at 28 with the Bengals.
You got to protect.
You got to protect these quarterbacks. Yeah,
they getting Joe Burrow's getting 265, getting 5 years, 265, 200 guaranteed when his deals. And he'll spread it out, make it team friendly, but I think maybe he'll lessen the guarantees. But these guys are about to be. You about to spend $250 million for these quarterbacks. You got to protect them. Either you protect them with the run game or you protect them up front, the trenches.
Yeah, and Cincinnati could be a spot for Gibbs if somebody reaches in the first round, just because there's been, reports that Joe Mixon is up in the air. He got called back to the cops again. So, that could be a thing.
Yo, he shot at some kids.
I know, but for the purposes of this, I'm going DeJuan Jones, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. So that brings us to the Aints at number 29. I did that for you, the Aints.
The Aints. Like, honestly, I don't know why there's a rivalry with Atlanta and New Orleans. Neither team has been successful enough to figure
it's one of my favorite rivalries, though.
It's funny though, because it's like the Saints never knocked Atlanta out of any real playoff contention. Nor have
Atlanta to be fair, if I remember correctly,
they just both played in the NFC West and they were just down south.
Well, if I remember correctly, the New Orleans Saints won their first playoff game ever against the Atlanta Falcons. And according to White Adam, I haven't been there to see it for myself, but apparently outside of the Superdome, they got the Monday night block punt against the Falcons statue out there.
Yeah, but the rivalry was already in full swing by then. So
yeah.
I don't know what the origins are. As a fan, I've been a fan since '91, and I'm like, I don't know why people don't like the Saints. I'm annoyed by Saints fans because we have this rivalry and people I know, 28-3, blah blah. But
well, until the Panthers came along, New Orleans was probably the closest team.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that's just by proxy is the closest.
Yeah, because Tampa wasn't y'all weren't in the same division with Tampa just yet. All right, so then we got
Drew Sanders, Arkansas.
All right. So then we got the Eagles at 30. You know what I mean? So in my mock draft, I had them taking Jordan Addison in that spot, but he's gone now. We got rid of him earlier. So I could see them taking Josh Downs out of North Carolina just to get another wide receiver if they go that route. If not, they could go Cam Smith out of South Carolina if they want another corner, because I know they lost some defensive backs this offseason. And then finishing it off, we got the world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
They trade to get Lamar Jackson and make him a running back. No, I'm joking.
Wide receiver, yeah.
So I say they had a young secondary last year.
Yeah.
They played well. I imagine that's going to continue to be the case.
I was thinking they might need another pass rusher.
Corner. I mean, maybe you go safety and move one of your corners that might not be that good in the slot to safety. Wide receiver, they can always use a wide receiver, but I don't think there's any real top wide receivers left.
Right.
So Osiris Torrance.
Okay, I can see
Number
that.
33 overall rated interior offensive lineman. You got a quarterback that's
Yeah, out of Florida. Yeah,
did you said you didn't say Emmanuel Forbes, a corner from Mississippi State, right?
I did. I had him going to Dallas.
Okay, is this a typo at 6'1", 166 pounds?
It could be. I don't know, but
Hold
you
on.
know, but Phoenix is up by 8 with 2:25 left in the second quarter. Warriors in Sacramento still at halftime.
If he's legit 166, then he is an absolute, pardon the pun, a bulldog.
And he's got to be a burner, right?
Yo, let's see. I think his 40 time was like, what did it say? I just saw it. 40 is 4.35.
Yeah.
So he's an outstanding athlete at 166.
Yeah.
6'1", 166 is like long, lanky frame. That's a strength with room to add weight.
Yeah.
Weaknesses: uses hands well, line of scrimmage and press coverage, but needs to get functionally stronger at the point of attack. Yeah, because Devontae Adams eating him alive off the line. DK Metcalf off the line. You had him going where? Where'd you have him going?
I had him going to Dallas.
Dallas. So he has.
He's not guarding McLaurin.
No one.
You ain't putting him on AJ Brown. Hey, he could match up with the Slim Reaper.
It'd be them two.
Yeah,
two of them combined weigh 312 pounds.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, that was our draft preview. So we're going to finish this off and get it off my chest, or we just going to let it ride?
I think we're just going to let it ride. We're going to save it.
We're just going to let it ride.
Yeah.
So
we'll save that.
Programming note.
Don't really have anything.
Well, I had something, but that can wait. So programming note, you know what I mean? We will be here next Thursday for the NFL draft, the first round of the draft, from pillar to pillar, from beginning to end, rung by rung, climbing up that ladder and seeing who these teams are really going to pick. We're going to come back, make fun of ourselves. We're going to give ourselves some pats on the back, all that good stuff like that. But we just wanted to let you know that we will be here for that.
I think the most exciting part about that is it's like golf. Men are cool admitting that they're no good at golf. I'm good admitting that every single pick that I said for this draft, it makes sense for our conversation. It might not be anywhere close.
They wouldn't be
1 year.
They wouldn't be the moves I would make. Close. They wouldn't be the moves that I would necessarily make. I was just trying to put myself into these teams' minds and their needs and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a draft, so I'm fine with reaching. It's a draft.
Yeah.
So like if I'm somebody like, say, I don't know, Jacksonville, I can reach a little bit. I got some wiggle room in my division.
Like, what? You could take an offensive tackle, or you can just take, I think this, I'm just arbitrary. Just this wide receiver at LSU might be the next guy we need. And you just make that, you just make it work, So
yeah, speaking of wide receivers out of LSU, I don't think I've ever seen anybody fall the way that Kayshon Boutte has fell. Like, coming into this college football season, he was like the next in line, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, so on and so forth.
Hire a PR firm. Once you go to your bowl game and you're done with school and you're about to go to San Diego or LA to work out with one of these professional trainers, hire a PR firm and go to Ellen, go on Joe Rogan podcast if it let you, go to the Shiners parades, go to schools and read books to kids. Do everything you can to bump your press. Just go and do all of that stuff, because
he had the other thing going on. If you don't
put yourself in the limelight, then you're gonna end up.
He had the thing with the recruiting girl, though. You remember they told him not to come back.
Listen, don't shit where you sleep. Just don't do it. Don't speed. Don't knock down the coach's daughters. Don't knock down any assistants.
There's too many girls out there for all that.
Don't use cheerleaders to help you recruit high school players. I mean, all of these things that you think people would understand.
You down in the bayou. Stay away from the staff.
Listen, man, like it's just
Go find Coach
you-
O and see what he up to.
your draft stock will rise and rise with the right PR firm. Go
Yes.
on First Take. Go on. What other show likes to have people? Anything? Get Up in the morning.
Hey, I'm sure Skip would have sat down with him.
Do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Start a charity foundation.
Stay away from Brady Quinn, though.
Yo,
I'm
just
saying?
do whatever.
Get it off
like
my chest.
Najee Harris averages like 3.2 yards a carry, and no one gives him any heat for it because when he came out and drafted, he went to the homeless shelter he used to live to have his draft party. He started a foundation for homeless kids to raise money. He did all of that stuff. So he can average 3.2, 3.5 yards a carry for the next 4 or 5 years and be just fine.
Yeah.
Because he had the right PR firm.
Every time I see DeAndre Ayton, I want to throw change at him. You know what I'm saying? 52-45. Suns up with about a minute 20 left in the first half. Norman Powell at the line for the second free throw. So 52-46. Golden State is up 61-49 with about 9:37 left in the third quarter. And folks, that is Mr. Logical.
Admit.
I am
I'm
2'5". Nah, Austin Reeves is him. You know.
He was
I am 2'5".
1/4.
You know what I'm saying? I am not Dylan Brooks, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am 2'5".
He about to get this 40, though.
Nah, man, you old. I don't care.
Light-skinned dude, so disrespectful.
No, luckily for him, LeBron ain't the type of dude that's going to let that
LeBron will
change
get 40.
at some point in the series. I don't know if it's the
LeBron
next
can go
game.
7 for 11 from 3 in the first half.
Is he going to
in
do
the
this?
gym right now. He gonna do some Michael Jordan-esque kind of celebration.
Hey, his ass better be asleep right now. Because my
He's
old
dead.
ass is hurt.
It's 8:30. He got a gym in his house.
That's true. That's true.
He in there putting up jumpers right now from 27 feet.
That's true. But America, America, you know, we went a little extra today, but it's all good. You know what I'm saying? It's what we do because we got the content. We got the words.
Talk that talk.
We got the pics.
Get your tapes.
Like us.
He's only 16.
Review us. Subscribe. Yo,
Click
just
the
like
button.
Myth Bleak, one hit away.
Click the button.
You know what I'm saying? As long as I'm
Share
alive, Mr. Logical will always be one hit away. He's 2'5".
Let's go. He's on
saying?
fire.
But yeah, we love you,
Once
America.
again.
We'll see you next week. Peace.